everyone, and welcome back to Frequency Writer, Color the Magic, and Whole Soul Mastery. I'm Marie Mohler, and I'm an author, a creative spirit, and a cosmic messenger of living a rich, inspired, authentic, and empowered life in these ascension times. And we are going to be talking today about the ascension acceleration, about the rounding out of 2024, this quantum quickening that many of us are feeling. The holidays are here. There's a closing out of old chapters. There's a closing out of the 3D paradigm in its entirety and a launching into a whole new stratosphere of consciousness and our creative abilities. We're going to be talking about all of these things and more in the big picture review. And also we're going to be talking about the hero's journey. And so I have many things prepared for you for this conversation today as we move into the holiday season and as we move towards New Year's Eve. And as we ring in January 2025 to bring us to the midpoint of this ascension decade. So thank you for joining me today, and let's take a deeper dive into that big picture review. Okay, so before we get to the big picture review, I just want to review some of the core topics that we're going to be focusing on today in December 2024. We are going to be talking about the resurrection, which is stage 11 in the hero's journey, as outlined and taught by Joseph Campbell. We're going to remember the 1, 2, 3 quantum creation process that could be very helpful and useful during the holidays and this holiday season. And we're going to talk about coming into divine oneness, integration, wholeness, and our true self-expression. All of these things I know we've been talking about these things on this channel, on YouTube and social media for a long time through my frequency writer offerings. But I wanted to bring a spotlight to these particular frequencies, these particular energies in our lives as we round out 2024, because I think these themes of integration and wholeness and oneness and true self-expression are coming up for all of us, because there's something at soul level that humanity as a collective are working with, and I wanted to talk about that with you today. So let's take a look at this big picture review. So in this big picture review, when I really was feeling into the energies, the themes showing up in my life, in my friends' lives, in my family's lives, what are the themes that continue to emerge in that process? And I had an insight years ago. I can't remember how many years ago now. It was sometime in the 2000s. But this concept, but actually I would say a living frequency of awareness, of dichotomous oneness. If some of you have been listening to this channel for a long time, you might have heard me talk about this, but I wanted to bring this up because it definitely was coming into my thoughts for our conversations today. Dichotomous oneness. What does dichotomous mean? I looked it up online, and the definition I found was dividing into two parts or involving dichotomy, which is something with seemingly contradictory qualities. Dichotomous, almost like opposites, right? Dichotomous oneness. So if we've got two things divided into two parts that are actually coming into the oneness, and I think this is something that we've talked about before in these kinds of conversations, at this dichotomous oneness. And I want to bring in this concept of duality. In the 3D matrix, that duality somehow got usurped to our present day understandings of polarity. And between polarity and duality, it's almost like these warring factions of opposites, right? Instead of complementary opposites, instead of two things that work together, think of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. There's this polarization, there's this tension, there's this wrestling, there's this battle going on, right? You can't have hot without cold. And I know a lot of people know, in like hot and cold temperature wise, you need both to do many of the things we do in a modern world. But in the same vein, there are many things that get polarized in terms of two opposing forces, almost, if you will. That is, to me, just a 3D illusion, a concept that we've been fed. And this energy of dichotomous oneness was coming back inside me as you will hear me talk about some of the ways that we experience this dichotomy, these seemingly contradictory qualities or opposites, right? So some of those might be the crucifixion and the resurrection. There's death and birth, right? There's endings and beginnings. There's light and shadow. These things appear to be opposing forces. But what I am finding as I continue this journey into these themes that we talked about for today, these themes of coming into wholeness and oneness and integration in our true self-expression, I think this whole illusion of everything being polarized in the way of fighting each other, wrestling each other, battling, warring. A friend of mine once talked about this from a class she was taking. They're all on the same frequency wave. They're not separate on two different waves. They are on the same wave, right? They're one. They're whole together. So endings mean the beginning of beginnings. And beginnings indicate that at some point they will come to a close, whatever's beginning. They're all part of the same wave. It's like the birth and death cycle. They're all part of a holistic life cycle. I just want people to, if you're listening to a video like this, to consider these qualities in where is that kind of tension of dichotomy or duality or polarity in a 3D sense still getting your animation, your attention, your energy. How is the matrix, that serpent, that cabal, the game that's played in the spiritual battle for your life force, for your soul's gifts? It wants your attention on all the distractions. But if we would all focus on coming into this dichotomous oneness, we're not so different after all. Not the beautiful human souls that come from a God creation. There are many other beings on this planet that coexist with us, and many have had very, very nefarious agendas for a very, very long time. Many of you listening to a video like this would be aware of that. But I wanted to invite us to consider, if you're feeling that wrestling, that tension, that battling inside ourselves, battling yourself, that is a dichotomous oneness where we are on the same wave with the thing that we think we're battling with, right? Or that's an opposing force. I'm not talking about the deeper, darker energies on this planet that must clear out and clear away, get exposed and clear away. But I am talking about things like endings and beginnings. They don't have to fight each other. Light and shadow don't have to fight each other. This concept of crucifixion and resurrection don't have to fight each other. They can all be part of that dichotomous oneness. They can be part of those complementary opposites. And this brings into our conversation today, obviously, the resurrection, which is the stage 11 of the hero's journey that, as outlined by Joseph Campbell, we're going to review some of that today. But I also want to bring into your awareness, in these ascension times, they are summoning the integration of the endings of the old 3D matrix and paradigm, and the welcoming in of the new true timeline of the Creator's true creation. It's a time of beckoning our willingness to do the inner work and embrace wholeness again as a natural state, as an innate part of our divinity. That desire for wholeness to me is a revolutionary act in times of complacency and spiritual amnesia. Many people are still in the ordinary world. The hero who has journeyed all the way to stage 11 that we've been reviewing here in these conversations, we have one more stage to go, at least that I'm going to outline, right? For the 12 stages of the hero's journey, the main stages. But we know that the hero left behind their families, their friends who are still in the ordinary world. They have not accepted the call to adventure. They have not sought the mentor. They have not faced the tests, allies, and enemies. They have not faced the ordeals, right? And the return and the resurrection and all these aspects that our hero, us, is facing. But I want to draw your attention because it is the holidays. There's this hustling and bustling that can be wonderful and joyful and fun. But we also know that there's an underlying tension brewing also on the planet simultaneously to the season's joy that's unresolved in humanity's psyche. When you have a lot of people in the ordinary world not wanting to know about that tension, not wanting to know about the spiritual battle, not seeking the truth with the capital T, but very happy in the cocoon of the ordinary world, the familiar with a lowercase t, and they'd like to embrace that truth that they've been given because it's comfortable and familiar, even if it's not right or true or ethical or beautiful or abundant and prosperous. They're willing to sacrifice all of that to cling to the familiar. This hero is on the journey, and I think many of us are being tasked with looking at our communication with others and with ourselves. We are looking at these cycles of endings and beginnings. We've had to do a lot of reviewing the layers inside us of light and shadow in our karmic history. Many of us are called to come to this kind of integration, this resurrection. We're going to talk about how Joseph Campbell saw that, but I also want you to think about the resurrection potentially in also ascension terms, in sort of an ascension kind of way. How is that desire for you to integration, to wholeness, to true self-expression? How is that desire for wholeness and this revolutionary act to be awake and aware and growing and evolving and embracing the inner work? How is that desire for the ascension? How is that waking us up? How is this awareness of this being a revolutionary act? Just being willing to be awake is a revolutionary act. It is time to reclaim the power of our awakening light. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. I prepared a graphic so that we at least had a visual of 1, 2, 3 quantum creation, because I myself, and you might relate to this, when we're around family and friends in the season of holidays and the new year that's unfolding and coming closer and closer and quicker into our experience, 2025, we might want to remember the gifts of that 1, 2, 3 quantum creation practice that we've talked about before, but I'm going to bring back into your awareness. So it's helpful anytime, but it may especially be helpful now during this holiday season for grounding and for positive communications around the holidays with others, with family members and friends, but also with ourselves. Because that's also coming up for review. We are having conversations with ourselves all day long. And the more things accelerate and amplify, sometimes we just have to take a breath for how we're talking to ourselves. We're going to talk about that today. So we're also going to cover some insights from Joseph Campbell, from Dr. Terry Cole-Whitaker, and also from Wayne Dyer on some topics related to stage 11 and other related things. So now to transition into some insights directly from Dr. Terry. Dr. Terry offered many messages to us about daring to be great. For those that may not be aware, she passed away in October of this year, just a couple of months ago. And I'm going to continue to review insights from her work. And in these specific conversations, at least as we close out 2024 and we begin 2025, I am going through her book, Dare to be Great. And in that book, early on, she quotes Steve Jobs, or the Apple company, right? Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. I know many of you may have heard that quote before, but it is so worth hearing again, in my opinion, and you can come back and hear it on this video. And you can also just look up the quote yourself and search for Steve Jobs or the Apple quote, here's to the crazy ones, and I bet it would come up. And so many of us who would be tuning in to frequencies in messages like these resonate with being the square pegs in the round hole, resonate with being the misfits, the rebels, going rogue, right? Troublemakers, the ones who see things differently. We aren't fond of the rules because I think a lot of us that are the crazy ones or the ones who look beyond the box are aware that it's a box in the first place. Why would I want to stay in a box if there's a whole universe out there to explore? No, we tend not to be fond of the rules, and we don't have respect for the status quo, meaning we don't want to stay in the ordinary world. It's why I include the hero's journey so much in my conversations here and in my nonprofit Whole Soul School and Foundation, because we want to free ourselves from living in an incarcerated world. We want to free ourselves from living in incarcerated thinking. We want to free ourselves from living in incarcerated rule following that just keeps us compliant and subservient to a system that never was designed to serve us. It was designed to serve the serpent's matrix. And that's what we're waking up out of, right? We have to wake up out of that spiritual amnesia and break out of that complacency where still many live in the ordinary world, but more and more of us are being called. So I love that quote, and it's just something to be aware of when you need to breathe through the holidays. If you feel a certain sense of differentness inside yourself, if you're with your family and there's kind of that round peg and square hole dynamic going on, that sense of being a misfit that I've never really fit in this family. What that may mean is that you're designed for something more. You may be a bridge into this new world, and our time is coming closer and closer in the quickening of the ascension process. So I love that quote from Steve Jobs. And then I just wanted to say, we're the ones that we've been waiting for. Terry was one of the rebels, the misfits, the round pegs in the square holes. And she invited others to join her again and again. That was her invitation. Those on the path of committed spiritual seeking, inner knowing, questing for truth, and daring to be great. And I'm going to continue to share messages from Dr. Terry because I think they are very timely for the times we're living in. So with that said, I just created this one slide that we can enjoy. It's just a quick reference of the 1, 2, 3 quantum creation as I see it. So step 1 is when we are triggered, we are stressed, we are overwhelmed. Somebody in our presence is triggering something from the past or just a friction that's always been there, right? There's many ways that triggers and stress and overwhelm, financial uncertainty, lack, scarcity, whatever it is. Step number 1 is taking a conscious breath for the trigger, the stress, the overwhelm, not trying to push past it, not trying to shove it to the side, actually seeing it inside us, whatever's going on, and taking a breath with full compassion for ourselves, having the experience we are of whatever that thing is. And so you could just take a nice, soothing, conscious breath in and really allow yourself to have compassion for how this triggers you and gets your emotions and your agitation and your frustration and all those kinds of negative feeling, lower vibe, lower frequencied energies rattling around your energy field. Let's just take a breath for that, because it's a lot as a human being to hold that kind of energy, especially when we know we're actually these extraordinarily, epically talented, divine beings, right? And that's where we're returning to. So once we take that conscious breath, step number 1, for the trigger itself, and we feel like we have adequately had a compassionate breath for the triggers that we are presently experiencing. Step number 2 is take a conscious breath to move into sacred neutrality. And for me, the image I have is one of being suspended in that hammock of grace, suspended between the world that I am uncomfortable experiencing and the world that I'm not yet ready vibrationally to access. I'm just suspended in a breath, cradled in the grace of Source. However you feel that, through that conscious breathing in union with Source, right? We are unifying our breath with our Creator. Well, that's where we can meet God in the breath. It's an active and engaged presence inside yourself that you are choosing to put yourself into sacred neutrality. You were just agitated. You were just frustrated. You were just overwhelmed. You were just confused. You just felt attacked. Whatever those things might be, you breathe for those things. But in step number 2, you take a conscious breath to literally breathe yourself, move yourself through the breath into this state of sacred neutrality, which I believe is what heart math is all about. It's about that heart coherence, connectedness. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. And you don't have to rush yourself trying to get to stage number 3 or step number 3. You can stay in that hammock of grace as long as you need to fortify your spirit until you're breathing normally and naturally in this coherent way, connecting your heart with your thoughts, with your breath, all perfectly synced up, working together synergistically. And when you feel that peace that passes understanding in your heart center, and you feel calm and embraced by the arms and hands of Source, When you're ready, you could take that third breath and you take a conscious breath to move into conscious creation or conscious co-creation with source energy. That's where you're at the precipice and God is saying, so, thanks for being here. And what do you want to create in the very next breath? So I just wanted you to have this reference if you wanted to review. What is that 1, 2, 3 quantum creation? It's just a nice meditative experience that you can have with yourself. It connects you with the breath. It connects you with your own intuition. Make of it what you need to make of it. But I do this all the time. I take a breath for the stress. I take a breath for the sacred neutrality and I move myself through the breath into that state of sacred neutrality. And then when I'm ready and I feel neutral and at peace, I take a third conscious breath and I move myself into creation with source. And I am actively engaged in the new vision I want to manifest through me that is in a kind of dichotomous oneness to the thing that I just experienced that I don't want to be experiencing anymore. I want to create going forward how it is that I want to experience whatever my life is. And I want to release the trigger that's just tangling us up in the 3D matrix and all the ways that it's trained and ingrained our energy fields to respond to stress instead of orient to peace that passes understanding and our creationary abilities that can literally create worlds. Okay, and with that said, I have 2 quotes on this one particular screen. So the first and only quote that I could find from Joseph Campbell, it's getting harder and harder to find quotes for me anyway, about Joseph Campbell's quotes about, the hero with 1,000 faces. This is a very intense quote, which is why I went searching for the second one from Wayne Dyer. So Joseph Campbell, when he speaks of the resurrection, he says, if you want resurrection, you must have crucifixion. The hoarder, the one in us that wants to keep, to hold on, I think, to the old world, the dying matrix, right, must be killed. He's talking about must be crucified, must be eradicated, right? If you want resurrection, which is essentially rebirth, you must have crucifixion. You have to have the death of one that opens the gates, that opens the pathway to the new birth, the new beginning. So it's a pretty intense quote from him that must be killed. But I truly believe we must eradicate the old patterns of serpent and satanic thinking that has riddled our world, that is what you see all around us. This world is in a state of illusory confusion because the serpent likes it that way. When you get above the fray, when you get above the din, and you get above the clouds of all the manipulations that the serpent has spent lifetimes upon lifetimes creating through all different groups of humanity and people all over the world for centuries and centuries of time. We must awaken from the matrix. And a big part of awakening from the matrix, I believe, is understanding that we have this crucifixion that ushers in the resurrection. And again, the resurrection is stage number 11 of the hero's journey. We're going to talk further about that. But if you can accept that the endings are part of the beginnings, they're not separate, they're on the same wave, then I always remember Wayne Dyer saying a specific quote that's in this longer paragraph. Wayne Dyer says, hidden in all good fortune is misfortune, and in all misfortune is good fortune. It's never going to stay the same as long as you're in the world or unless you die while you are alive and become an enlightened Zen master. But those people don't exist. When you study their lives, you find that they had the same struggles as the rest of us. It's not so much about being able to always have calm. Calmness isn't just the absence of noise or troubles. It's being able to find calm within yourself when other stuff is going on. I think that is absolutely relevant to what we're talking about, the crucifixion. There is a part of us that is the part of ourselves that has been willing to be triggered, that has been willing to be distracted, that has been willing to go into fear again and again and again. No, the true master is somebody who will die to themselves, who will die to the illusion and the version of themselves that answers to the 3D matrix. It's an ego death, if you will, right? It's this crucifixion of what you once were or what you thought your identity to be, when in fact you're this much more expanded, divine being, and that has been kept from us all this time. But I believe it's getting closer and closer and closer to the surface of humanity's consciousness. And I so appreciate the souls who can hang out at the leading edge of quantum creation, where this whole true creation of God is being ushered back in to our conscious awareness. Very powerful quotes, and it also brings in that dichotomous oneness or complementary opposites. Of course, crucifixion doesn't bring very good images or feelings inside us, but if you think of that as a death, then death always, always, always ushers in new birth. And that's where you have those complementary opposites that are no longer fighting each other. They're just on the same wave of universal creation, right? They work together to create the life cycles. Okay, quote number 2 from Joseph Campbell. How do you find the divine power in yourself? The word enthusiasm means filled with a God. So what makes you enthusiastic? Follow it. So I have a little word, follow your bliss. The bliss is the message of God to yourself. That's where your life is. That's where it's happening, right? It's in your joys. It's in your bliss. It's in your freedom. It's in your enthusiasm. Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker, I'll say it again, always talked about the definition of prosperity was moving forward with enthusiasm, which means we have to go on the quest to discover what enthuses us, what excites us, animates us, engages us. That's what we want to follow. That's that message of God to ourselves. That is the bliss he was referencing. I love that image of this woman on the screen. Again, just living beyond the limitations of the illusion, getting above the clouds and seeing that there's a vast world without limitation before us. This is the return to the true creation. We are going to experience in this lifetime this greater expansion of our understanding and removing the limits of our thresholds or capacities. We are not limited. It's the 3D matrix, the serpent's matrix, that makes that so, if we will agree with it, and many often do in the ordinary world. Quote number 3, at the darkest moment comes the light. Joseph Campbell. Many of you know the truth of that. At the darkest moment comes the light. That's the revelation time where you're really struggling. You're in the heat of the tension. You're in the heat of the battle with yourself or someone else or something else. At the darkest moment in the dark night of the soul, always, always, always comes the light. The light came in the form of a message to color the magic again for me, right? And that did get my attention. And I did color the magic, and it brought me out of that place of deep suffering. Okay, quote number 4. I don't believe people are looking for the meaning of life as much as they are looking for the experience of what? Of being alive. I think people are seeking meaning, but if they would allow themselves the experience of liveness, the experience of being alive, now that is something. That's also a big part of the hero's journey. Okay, the next quote says, there are something like 18 billion cells in the brain alone. There are no two brains alike. There are no two hands alike. There are no two human beings alike. You can take your instructions and your guidance from others, but you must find your own path. Must. That is also why I'm not sitting before you as a channel. There are many reasons for that. But one of the very important reasons is that you are your own teacher. You are your own healer. You are the one who's coming into wholeness. You can listen to some of the insights I have, but when you have a guru, when you have somebody that you listen and you serve under, right, that their word is bigger than what your own intuition would say, I think this matrix, this world has gotten hijacked where we give our power away to other people. There are no two human beings alike. That's very powerful. And even though we can listen to instructions or insights and guidance from other people, we must find our own path. We must make our own choices. It's critical now. It's critical. We are just about to celebrate the midpoint of this Ascension decade. We are on the doorstep, the threshold of that. And as we move through this Ascension decade, we want to be coming inside to connect with our soul self, our presence, our God spark, our divinity, right? The wise being inside you that is guided by source in every breath. This is what we want to do. So not giving our power away. That's something that we will release in 2024 if people listening are still doing that. Claim that power for yourself. It's for you. It's for you and your soul path that the world needs at this time. Okay, and as we talk about Joseph Campbell and these quotes, the dark night of the soul comes just before revelation. It comes just before the light. The darkness comes just before the light, which means we have to be able to deal with a certain level of discomfort in order to activate and open ourselves up to the power of inner revelation, divine connection, source integration, right? Connecting through the power of the breath. So beautiful. Okay, and then I had one bridge quote that I wanted to be sure to include because we're talking about dying to ourselves while we're alive, letting our egos go. We die while we're alive to the ego and its commands and its demands and all of its overwhelming judgments and criticisms and manipulations. And we are finding our way back to this complementary opposites, this coming together in wholeness. So this quote is from John Galsworthy. And the quote says, "The beginnings and endings of all human undertakings are untidy. The building of a house, the writing of a novel, the demolition of a bridge, and eminently the finish of a voyage." You know, change sometimes creates mess. If you've ever painted a room, sometimes you pull all the furniture out, right? You put down your drop cloths. You tape the trim on the wall, right? The door frames and all of those things, right? It can be messy. It looks messier before it looks better. Our lives in this ascension decade sometimes resemble that metaphor I just shared, but I like this quote from John Galsworthy, something to think about. The beginnings and endings of all human undertakings are untidy, the building of a house, the writing of a novel, the demolition of a bridge, and eminently the finish of a voyage. So in these conversations, we are on an adventure. And in that adventure, sometimes it's messy, but it's okay. You know, you see this person who's stressed. They've crumpled up a whole bunch of paper. Maybe they started to write another, chapter in their novel and they're just having a block, right? We have to allow the beginnings and the endings and the messiness of that to come through and step into the revelation from the dark night of the soul. All of this language is all connected in the universal hero's journey, and I would say the ascension hero's journey. Okay, and now I have two quotes from Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker. This is in her book, Dare to Be Great. And of course, she says, "Dare to be great, and great you shall be." I love that. There's this expansiveness again. You know, can you feel the difference when you contract and shrink, when things are getting overwhelmed? You're not sure how you're going to pay a bill. You're not sure how you're going to get to work in the morning. Something's happened and whatever to disrupt your normal patterns. Dare to be great, and great you shall be. If we don't give excuses for why we can't be great, we will naturally move in the direction of being great. Right? And the world needs that greatness again. It needs that greatness. It's counting on our soul skills as more of the world starts flipping and returning to God's true creation. And the serpent's matrix becomes more and more and more transparent, that it was never real in the first place, but it was a masterful manipulation. So let's say again what Dr. Terry says: "Dare to be great, and great you shall be." I love that. And so the last quote is a little bit lengthy, but I really liked it, so I included it here. "Never, never give up. You can be certain that all you hope for in your heart of hearts exists, and it is available in abundant supply. You just need to know how to find it and what to do to get and keep it. Such is human nature that most do not seek to end their worries and find true love and bliss until they reach the depth of despair. Although it is not necessary to wait until we hit bottom before we rise to the top, we can start now. Now is the perfect time to start on a treasure hunt. Everything you have experienced in the past has prepared you for the blessings you will now receive." We have all faced some challenges in some form or another, right? But we can be in the present moment where our truest soul power, our truest divinity, and our power to change our lives and things around us, That's what we need to turn to in these times, not get hung up on the lack that we're sold and told about every single day that serpent can get on the microphone on the mainstream media and mainstream news channels. But it is changing. I think more truth is emerging in drips and drips and drips every single day. And I find it very refreshing because it is time to return to the Eden. It's time to go back to the garden. It's time to reunify with Source again. Okay, and now we're just going to review that acronym of change. This was not my creation here. I just pulled it from the internet and I do not know where I got it from. So I just want to say thank you to the person who created this. But change, the letters in the word change can stand for these words and these understandings. C is for compassion, H is for healing, A is for awareness, N is for nurture, G is for growth, and E is for empowerment. Very, very powerful. We need a lot of those frequencies to help us through these times. Okay, and then I just review very quickly each time that the hero's journey parable is a universal story structure that has been present in various cultures for centuries. It was popularized by Joseph Campbell in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. The parable can be broken down into 3 stages: initiation, the journey, and the return. And each of the 3 stages has stages within stages, right? So it is a quite comprehensive system that he, shared with all of us in his books, and certainly The Hero with a Thousand Faces. We're going to be focusing more on the return today because we're talking about the resurrection. And that's a very important part of the hero's journey in their return process. So again, we're focusing on stage 11, the resurrection. The hero faces a final test or confrontation, emerging transformed and reborn. So important. I mean, we see this in Harry Potter. We see this in Star Wars. I'm sure we see it in Lord of the Rings. I haven't seen that too many times, but I know I'm familiar. We see it. We see it in so many story arcs because it is a universal story, and we like to go to see the movies because somehow it is reflecting to us through actors and special effects and things on the stage the truth about us. The truth about us. So the hero faces a final test or confrontation, emerging transformed and reborn. And can you also see in the hero's journey, there are spirals or cycles of tests that they go through. It's not once and done. Even within one single story arc about one particular aspect of your life, there are multiple triggers and tests that will go on in that particular journey, so that we can ultimately face the final test and emerge transformed and reborn. Okay, and I grabbed just a couple screenshots to define the resurrection, stage 11 of the hero's journey, and I grabbed this again from capedcoaching.com. I like some of their explanations of the hero's journey. So in their article, they say this week on their website is the 11th in a 12-part series on the hero's journey, or the monomyth proposed by Joseph Campbell. The 11th stage is resurrection. No prophet is accepted in his hometown. If you have ever gone to a compelling conference, an impactful institute, or powerful life-altering program, you may have experienced a hero's resurrection. At the end of such an amazing experience, you may have felt like you could change the world, or at least make a positive difference for your organization or in your own life. The environment of the experience, the colleagues, friends, or fellow journeyers, and the immersive, albeit somewhat isolated nature of the program can make you feel like you are far, far away from the ordinary world. And then reality strikes. They go on to say, when you return to your community or organization, you may feel like you are leading a double life. I've definitely felt that at times earlier, but it's all part of this integration. But initially when you're in the return and this resurrection, you can feel like you're living a double life. There's this polarity, there's this duality that has not yet integrated inside you. And they say, for example, as a prophet is born and raised in her hometown, the people may remember her faults or immaturity from a previous time, or their own experiences in history with her, rather than the insights and wisdom she now brings as a prophet. When you return from your amazing experience, it is easy to forget that the people in your community or organization did not drink the Kool-Aid that you have and have that same experience. For those people, they see you as the person who boarded the bus or plane 3, 4, 5 days ago, and not necessarily the new person you have become through your journey. I have had this experience, whether coming back from leadership as a participant in 2000 with a vision to address hazing in my organization, or returning from a professional conference brimming with best practices and innovative ideas. This is the challenge of the resurrection, whereas it is challenging in and of itself to become the person you have the potential to be. The final challenge of the hero's journey is to return to your community or organization, accepting, combining, and even reconciling the person you were with the person you have become. This integration. This decade of ascension is bringing all of this to the forefront, all of this to the fore in our conscious awareness so we can actively participate in it. We can actively embrace the upgrades. Okay, and this last part is throughout the hero's journey, you have changed, you have grown, and you have become more and more the person you have the power to be. The resurrection is a moment of acceptance and transformation where you commit to living and owning your new identity. Throughout the hero's journey, you have developed the heroic arts: question, courage, strength, speed, sacrifice, and team. You have confronted your fears in the innermost cave, and you have triumphed in becoming your authentic self through the ordeal. Abraham Maslow, a pioneer in the field of psychology, identified self-actualization as the highest point in his presentation of human beings' hierarchy of needs, which begin with physiological needs and progress to higher order needs such as love and belonging, self-esteem, and ultimately self-actualization. For the journeyer, this self-actualization also is the pinnacle of the hero's journey. Your work is to discover your work and then, with all your heart, to give yourself to it. We need to really tune into that. That is powerful. Your work is to discover your work and then, with all your heart, to give yourself to it, to really engage, not just get the thing done and check it off the list, right? There's such meaning and there's such marrow in the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, or the ascension journey. We can pick any one of these paradigms or these umbrellas that all these other things fit inside, and we can really see ourselves. Are we different than we were a year ago? Are we different than we were 5 years ago? Are we different than we might have been 2 weeks ago? Very, very important to notice and recognize the changes unfolding inside you so you won't feel like you have to catch up if a whole year blows by and we haven't made any strides in this direction of being our authentic self-expression. Okay, and I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to read the names of the song titles, and I'm just going to play these song titles at the end, one after the other, and just say, I loved creating these songs. I'm definitely in the muse of what's the vibration, what's the energy that I'm conveying, in addition to the words. And it has to match. It has to be those complementary opposites. It has to be some of that dichotomous oneness, where these songs are things coming together, right? So I only have 5 songs today, but I'm looking forward to sharing these. One is a song called The Hero Within. I think we had another one before, but this one's new. Unfolding Freedom, number 2. Number 3, The Light of the Season. Number 4, Rise with Your Light. And number 5, Shining Christmas. I'm going to play these 5 songs one after the other in this particular video, and then we'll do a final review. Okay. Thanks for listening. Tune into The Hero Within.
You left the shadows, found the light. A journey's end, but newfound sight. Embrace the change within your soul. Don't look back, let courage roll. Step into the world so bright. You become your own true light. Reconcile who you used to be with the hero standing free. Mountains climbed and rivers crossed. Bridges burned but never lost. The fire inside it guides your way. A brighter dawn on a brand new day. Step into the world so bright. You become Our journey made with strength and grace. The person now is more than whole, a warrior heart with iron soul. Step into the world so bright, you become your own true light. Reconcile who you used to be, with the hero standing free.
Okay, that's such a beautiful song, The Hero Within. Now we're going to listen to Unfolding Freedom.
Old doors whisper as they close, fading echoes of the past. New path, open and expose, freedom's light breaks out at last. Through the night we chase the dawn, beginnings paint the sky anew. With every breath a new song drawn, true aliveness breaking through. Hearts embracing change, unfolding tales in every hue. Old ways, gone yet not so strange, a new world in sparkling view. Through the night we chase the dawn, beginnings paint the sky anew. With every breath a new song drawn, true aliveness breaking through. Endings weave into the start, threads of life in grand design. Souls integration plays its part, living hope in every sign. Through the night we chase the dawn, beginnings paint the sky anew. With every breath a new song drawn, true aliveness breaking through.
I really love all of these songs. They're so beautiful, and they really are in the sounds, in the melodies, in the music, and also in the words. Every now and again, AI will trip over a particular word, but for the most part, I think a lot of these songs capture the essence that I was aiming for. Number 3, The Light of the Season. Let's have a listen.
Snowflakes gently on the ground, joy is spreading all around. Families gathering all so near, in this new dawn we share the cheer. Candles flicker in the night, warmth of hearts that feel so right. Seasons greetings fill the air. In this moment, love is everywhere. Light of the season shining bright. Together we embrace the night. Blessings flow from heart to soul. In this holiday, we feel whole. Laughter echoes through the halls. Memories deck our walls. Faith and hope in every hand, united in this joyous land. A new era in our sight. Family close, spirits light. Divine connection we all see. The magic of our unity. Light of the season shining bright. Together we embrace the night. Blessings flow from heart to soul. In this holiday, we feel whole. The season shining bright. Together we embrace the night. Blessings flow from heart to soul. In this holiday, we feel whole.
Okay, another beautiful song for this season of the holidays, for this season of light that we are truly living in, because we are in the midpoint of the ascension and we are moving forward, fast forward, it seems, in this amplified energy into this ascension, this new world, this new life that is beckoning and summoning all of us. It's meant for all of us. But I love that these songs can support and empower our ascension journeys right now. Number 4, Rise with Your Light.
Set your sights on the sky so high. Dreamers painting stars that never die. Artists and change makers feel the beat. This holiday season, rise to your feet. Shine bright, you're the light of the world. Embrace your soul, let your wings unfurl. Dare to be great, have faith in your heart. Visionaries, no one ever apart. In the glow of the night, take your stand. Every dream's a fire in the palm of your hand. With a spirit like yours, nothing's too grand. Dreamers and visionaries take command. Shine bright, you're the light of the world. Embrace your soul, let your wings unfurl. Dare to be great, have faith in your heart. Visionaries, no one ever apart. The future's in your hands, so hold it tight. Artists paint tomorrow with colors so light. Change makers lift us to our highest height. This holiday season, step into the light. Shine bright, you're the light of the world. Embrace your soul, let your wings unfurl. Dare to be great, have faith in your heart. Visionaries, no one ever apart. Take your stand. Every dream's a fire in the palm of your hand. With a spirit like yours, nothing's too grand. Dreamers and visionaries, take command. Shine bright, you're the light of the world. Embrace your soul, let your wings unfurl. Dare to be great, have faith in your heart. Visionaries, no one ever apart. Never apart.
Okay, another beautiful song, Rise with Your Light. And number 5, we're going to listen to Shining Christmas.
Winter winds, they're blowing strong. City lights, they sing along. Wishing you a time so bright. Sparkling stars on silent nights. Take a breath and look within. Feel the magic start to spin. In your heart the warmth unfolds. Ancient tales and stories told. Seasons, greetings everyone. Underneath that glowing sun, be the light that guides the way. Harmonize both night and day. On our birth of joy and peace, let all worries take their lease. Christ consciousness in our view, harmonizing old with new. Seasons, greetings everyone. Underneath that glowing sun, be the light that guides the way. Harmonize both night and day. From the rooftops to the ground, listen to the joyful sound. Feel the cheer in every soul as we make the season whole. Seasons, greetings everyone. Underneath that glowing sun, be the light that guides the way. Harmonize both night and day. 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 On our birth of joy and peace, let all worries take their lease. Christ consciousness in our view, harmonizing old with new.
I hope you enjoyed hearing about Stage 11, the resurrection. Today, I hope you enjoyed these soul songs. I hope you enjoyed the invitation to go into these higher frequencies, like Terry says, to dare to be great, right? To be the misfit, to allow yourself to be perceived as being different, to be the change maker that you are. God is counting on the change makers to step up, to rise up, to be who you are at a time where maybe not everybody will understand who you are and the gifts you brought through to this world, but God knows. The galactics know. The cosmos knows. Many on the earth know. And I too am thanking you for doing your part to raise the frequencies of this planet and to usher in the true divine creation, and to expel the old 3D paradigm that was never, ever real in the first place. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I want to invite you to join my Substack page at frequencywriter.substack.com. I want to invite you to go to my website at frequencywriter.com. It has my Shine Your Light book series, so if you're looking for my ebooks, it's there on frequencywriter.com. And I also invite you to check out our Freeing an Incarcerated World film trailer while you're at my website, frequencywriter.com. And then I invite you to like my channel at Color the Magic on YouTube. I invite you to check us out at wholesoulschoolandfoundation.org. It's our website. Please consider making a donation to this very important work and this humanitarian project. And there are many fireside chats, podcasts in the archives that talk about the hero's journey, and many other podcasts just in general in the other categories there. I invite you to subscribe and share this video. And I want to thank you again for joining with me today to the end, and I will see you again soon for more inspirational podcasts, messages, and musings. I wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season, a season of light, and a season of inspiration and joy and peace. And I look forward to talking with you again as we round the corner into January 2025 in the exact midpoint of this Ascension decade. Blessings, everyone. I'll see you soon.